So, this topic of speaking up in the moment has been really up for me, and I've been seeing it also in the collective and the people in my space. I think there are a number of different reasons why it can be really hard to speak up, especially when we have had previous experiences of it not feeling safe to do so, whether that's through your home environment that you grew up in. For me, that was definitely the case, to having experiences feeling disconnected or even rejected by others when we do share more of ourselves, and even down to just having more introverted traits, right? Like, I think that a lot of us women who are more introverted, we also have this natural gift of sensitivity and intuition, which I know in the beginning, when we haven't really honed those skills yet, that it can really feel like more of a burden versus a blessing. So I totally understand that. I did want to mention that because I think sensitivity and intuition go hand in hand and play a big part in why we feel like it's not safe to speak up, because we're very attuned to our external environment, and that includes the people in it. So if we grew up having to take up care of others' needs, make other people feel comfortable, if that was our conditioning and our programming, we're going to be a lot more likely as adults to struggle to share more of ourselves, our true thoughts, our true beliefs, our concerns, our needs, our desires. Like, those are all very personal and can feel very vulnerable for those of us who just haven't been accustomed to sharing that regularly with people in our lives. So I just want to see you in that. I've been there myself, going from a very shy, introverted girl to being able to feeling totally comfortable with my voice, and yet still learning to share more of that with the people who are closest to me. That's been my path and my lesson most recently, which has been really beautiful. And of course, like, challenging at the same time when we are not held space for. When the people who are supposed to love and care about us don't really create space or know how to hold space for listening to how you feel and encouraging you to connect to yourself, it's probably because they don't know how to do that themselves. They weren't held space for. They weren't able to learn how to cultivate that. What that can create is this real desire to shrink down. And at least this is what happened for me. I took on this perception that because there was no space created for me to share my authentic self, I then perceived that there's no place for that within my most closest relationships. And that's what was running through my head and in my subconscious programming as a child. So I think speaking up, using your voice, can really be related to this concept of taking up space and expressing your needs and desires without apology, being able to connect to how you truly feel in the moment, and then follow through with the words, the actions, the behaviors, the boundaries that honor that. And that is such a process to learn how to do, and something I've personally been working on for years and years. Through those initial many stages of this journey, there were a lot of tools that helped me to move through that. And I wanted to share those tools with you in case that you're on some part of this journey as well and are looking for some support. If you watched my last video, I talked about this freeze response that happens in the nervous system when we abandon ourselves in the moment. If you haven't watched that, you can go check it out. Not being able to speak up in the moment is also a function of the freeze response. It's also another way in which we want to speak up, and there's also parts of us that don't want to speak up, so we get frozen. We get stuck in the middle where we just don't act and don't do anything and are not able to break out of the pattern as it's happening. And then once we're a safe distance away from the situation, then we come back into ourselves and are like, oh, well, I know exactly what I would have wanted to say, and I just didn't do it while it was all happening. There's a number of different ways that you could start thawing that, or like start to break through that. Of course, you can go the nervous system route and do nervous system regulation practices, which I also highly recommend. If you're just telling yourself to act differently, you're probably going to want to pair that with some kind of body-based practice, because we can tell ourselves all day long that we know what to do and we think we should act differently, and then watch ourselves continue to just freeze in the moment because our body is carrying and re-experiencing the feeling of danger or lack of safety as it's all happening. So when you involve the body in the process in some way, and I'll talk about a couple ways you can do that, it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to connect to yourself in the moment and access your voice. Of course, then there's the option of just seeking spaces to be able to practice speaking up in front of people who you know are safe. And this can even include like a professional setting. I was in talk therapy for 2 years. While it didn't really do anything in terms of the deep healing that I was in search of, it did help me to practice sharing my feelings with somebody else. And she was a great space holder. I truly credit my first experiences of being held to that therapist. I had never actually experienced that before, and it made speaking up with my friends and eventually my family a lot easier. And not to mention, you can also practice having difficult conversations with your space holder too. So there's that. Okay, and then I want to go into the more body-based practices, because this is where things really started to change for me in massive ways. So something that's gonna blow your mind probably is that I discovered that when we hold our true thoughts and feelings in and we prevent ourselves from sharing it externally, those feelings and beliefs, they still manifest outwardly. They just find a different path. So what I mean by that is that when we don't verbalize and speak our needs, desires, and feelings, when that's in combination with not having the tools to connect to your own needs, and they're not getting attuned to, they're not getting the care that they actually desire, so then they manifest physically. So those of us who grew up not feeling safe to share our authentic selves, we actually become disconnected from ourselves and our bodies. So this inner world that wants to be seen, it wants to be heard, it wants to be understood and expressed, isn't receiving that externally, because now you're not sharing yourself with others around you. And what often happens in combination with that, if you don't have the tools and haven't worked on this, is that internally as well, which is where we actually derive our sense of wholeness, validation, and attunement from, internally, is that we don't get that either from ourselves. So now we're disconnected from the outside, we're disconnected from our bodies, and there is just no source of nourishment. There's no source really of attunement and being able to provide to yourself what you need. So then the nervous system in the body says, okay, well, if we're not able to express in those ways, then we're going to use physical language, which is pain and symptoms. What I've learned through healing my own chronic pain from being a body worker and working clinically with women who are disconnected from themselves and working with clients, guiding them back in connection with their bodies, is that when we are disconnected from our ability to express ourselves, to connect to ourselves, to attune to ourselves, then that's when the body speaks for us. It's almost like we lost our voice. We're not able to speak the things that want to be heard out into the world and to acknowledge them deeply within ourselves. So the body says, this needs to be expressed. It will do that through pain and symptoms. I'll give you an example. When I was about 13 years old, I had really bad TMJ issues, like jaw issues. So bad that I was this close to getting jaw surgery. And the weird thing was, though, that the TMJ only came on when I was playing badminton. I played volleyball and badminton at this age. And when I went to the physical therapist, this just stumped them. They had no logical explanation for why two overhead sports using the upper body same motion, the same mechanism of swinging a badminton racket and swinging your arm in volleyball, while one would cause excruciating pain and lockjaw, and the other one did not. But in my own head at this age, there was something inside me that already knew. This makes complete sense to me because volleyball is something that I love, but badminton is something that I despise. I hated playing badminton, and that my parents would force me into it. So, what was happening was because I did not really express my deep hatred for badminton to my parents, because I already knew that if and when I expressed that to them, I would still have to keep doing it. So, I decided to swallow those feelings, not give myself the opportunity to speak, and therefore also take away my opportunity to be heard as well. And as a side note, speaking very much involves the throat chakra. The throat chakra is about self-expression, and it's not just verbally, it's in many other ways as well, but definitely the neck area, the jaw, the mouth area are all governed by the throat chakra. So many cases of neck pain, jaw pain, and even thyroid issues are very clearly connected to self-expression blockages. Okay? So just as a side note, so I was about to get jaw surgery for my TMJ. This is before I knew anything about holistic health, but I was the one who was pushing for the jaw surgery. If I'm being really honest with myself, it was because I wanted this whole issue to be as dramatic as possible, thinking that my suffering and my pain would show my parents how much they hurt me by not listening, by not asking how I felt, not caring how I felt, and forcing me to do it anyway. Fortunately, the surgeon himself talked me out of the surgery because he said, "You're so young, there's so much you can do. Like, it doesn't have to be like this." And that it was his compassion that he saw me and things did not have to be this way. And so a lot of my lockjaw symptoms went away and then they completely disappeared after I finally got to quit playing badminton. So that's one pretty intense example of how this can work. All these years later, now I'm teaching sensitive, self-aware women how to tune into the wisdom of their bodies that's expressing as pain. It's come full circle and realizing that pain is communicating through us because it's our bodies are trying to help us see, feel, understand the authentic parts of us that have been just pushed down, have been pushed to the side, have been just forgotten about and not cared about. They are coming back through pain and symptoms to be understood by you. They're seeking your compassion. They're seeking your understanding so they can be integrated back into the whole of you. And I've practiced this principle. I have developed into frameworks that I now teach to students inside my 12-week program. I've healed, like I kid you not, I've healed dozens of mystery pains, just random pains that come out of nowhere. And you've probably experienced some of these too because you're sensitive and you're intuitive. Your body does pick up so much information and it wants to realign you with and connect you with yourself. And once that pathway gets opened of you tuning into your pain, you understanding that your pain is trying to tell you something about how you truly feel, what you need, what you desire, what you should have said, what you wanted to say, that the communication changes. Because when your body understands that you are listening to yourself, you're simultaneously freeing up your voice, the energy that's been stuck in your throat, probably as some form of neck or back pain or even a headache, and rather than that energy getting stuck and causing stagnation, pain, and discomfort, it's coming through you as words, it's coming through as boundaries, it's coming through as self-expression, it's coming through as sharing your emotions, being able to be seen vulnerably by the people who love you and even by people who don't know you. This is what can happen when you learn how to listen to the voice that wanted to express itself when you were younger. You become the listener instead. All of those dreams, all of those desires, all of those feelings that went unnoticed by others, You are the one who can listen to them now to heal those parts of yourself who are waiting for your validation, for that acknowledgement from you, so that you can both move forward. All parts of you can move forward and feel free to express yourself, free to move through life in the way that feels authentic to you, free to show up with the energy and the secureness and the groundedness that you trust your body, you're in tune with yourself, and that you can use your voice. So, from like a 9,000-foot view, speaking up, coming back to our original thread of speaking up in the moment, what is that in relation to everything that we just talked about? It is your body staying in a state of frozenness, of wanting to speak, not feeling able to speak, because of unhealed past patterns and parts of you that want your acknowledgement and attention. They want to be heard by you first. They want it to feel safe enough to be able to share what's true and authentic to them. Because that hasn't happened yet, or it's only happened in pieces, your body has learned to express that pain for you, to become your internal voice that is bridging the internal to the external to show you in a very obvious, tangible way how you really feel. It is self-expression manifesting through the body, bypassing all of the other protections that you have in place that prevent you from speaking or expressing in another way outwardly. So, what happens then when you actually tend to those symptoms, to the pain, using these principles that your body, your pain are speaking to you and serving your highest good, then you bring that energy of attention, of love and care into those areas where energy is bound up like this. It starts to soften, it starts to release, it feels heard. The parts of you that have been craving your acknowledgement and attention feel relief because they're seen by you, they're held by you, they're understood by you. And not only does the pain release itself, it frees up the energy. It clears out that channel for you to be able to speak, to be able to express in the way that you want. And that's what happens when you go from stuckness, frozenness, back into fluidity and into motion. We are not meant to live stuck like this in states of just contraction and fear and old patterning. We're meant to move and flow with our life, to be able to engage in that dance, right? Like speaking up in the moment is engaging in a dance between you and another person or a group of people. I don't know, whatever it is that you're interacting with. There is an exchange that's happening. And when you can be fully in your body, energy freed up, not being held back, limited by pain and discomfort, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, you can move with the conversation. You can share your authentic thoughts and feelings. You can create boundaries. You can respond from a secure, healthy place and a whole place, so that you're acknowledging the others and not taking on what's not yours, right? You can share, I feel this way and I disagree. You can say no. They can get upset, they can get angry, or they can be okay with it, and it doesn't matter. You feel fine with that. Things feel different in your body when you involve your body and its communication tools and the way that it's adapted to feel and express itself. When you weren't able to express yourself, when you factor that all in and like work with that, okay? So speaking up is so much more than just forcing yourself to speak when it feels like backed up in your throat. Your body is your temple, it's your inner resource, it's where you can draw your power from. There are so many layers to this work that I had to create a 12-week program to encompass a lot of it. So if you want more videos on this topic, I'm happy to share more. And also, I just want to let you know that if you're watching this video before September 11th, then I really want to invite you to my Pain Symbolism Masterclass that's happening from September 15th to September 19th. It's a 5-day masterclass series where I'm giving you day by day a bite-sized lesson about how to decode the symbolic meaning of your pain so that you can understand the message that it's expressing to you on your behalf. Super powerful work. And this has been the understanding that healed my chronic pain and has set so many other women free from it as well. This is a really versatile framework that's going to be able to serve you for life no matter what kind of pain you're experiencing, what the context is. It's going to be able to help you hone in and narrow in on those deeper layers, the non-physical layers that you know and can feel are there, but you just don't have the crystal clarity that you need in order to decode that message so that you can heal and move through your life in a more aligned way. Just for these 5 days, the 15th through the 19th, I'm going to be offering 5 days of private forum support. I've never done this, and I don't know that I'm going to do it again. So if you're watching this between September 8th and September 11th, the general admission is open, and you can get one of the very limited spots inside the private forum. Otherwise, if you're watching it outside this window, you can still get the masterclass. There just won't be forum support with that. And all those links are going to be in the description box below. I'm just so excited to be putting this out there because I'm just so tired of seeing women get stuck in their process and just not having the tools, not having the frameworks that really help them to thrive and also acknowledge the whole of who they are. Like, if you're a spiritual woman who loves seeing the connections between all things, if you love synchronicity, if you love astrology, tarot, human design, all of those things that allow you to see your patterns more clearly and connect the dots between all these different layers, you're going to love this masterclass. And I'm so excited to share it with you. Links in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the masterclass. And regardless, I will see you in the next video.